hi there. If you just watched the audio setup of this, I'm going to go through and just go through this latest video setup. So I do classify myself as an audio visualist, so I'm not making video clips for my music. I'm building things twice, and the other key part of that for me is the improvised element, is how to keep it fresh and be able to morph, bring things in, change things over the course of a performance. So whether or not I'm in the studio or whether I'm playing live, the whole idea of what I do with this abraiojos personality is improvised audio visualism. Yeah, there you go, that's it. So hi, welcome back. If you've watched any of these previously, I've just been, well, I haven't just, but I've been offered a gig, and like I was saying in the audio side of these two clips, I haven't gigged in a while. I used to gig a lot, but I haven't gigged in a while, and I wanted to kind of bring all of the things that I've been working on in like the past 10 years, where since I moved away from a major capital city and moved to a very small seaside village with a small population and not lots of gigging opportunities for the type of weird psychedelic doom stuff that I make, how can I build something and take it with me, but then also factor in that whole, I've got to set things up really quickly, I can't be running leads, I can't be troubleshooting stuff, I've just got to like plug two things in and make it work. And that's kind of where I've got to with this, by building it into a guitar pedal case that I've had sitting around for quite a while, that I got as a bargain. It's got a lid, it's got a nice carpeted bottom that I can kind of put Velcro on the bottom of things and lock stuff in. And that's what I've done. And I'm just going to kind of run you through the steps. The only thing that you can't see here that is a part of this as well is the laptop, which is just over there. And I'll move the camera when we get to talking about Resolume. But very first, I just wanted to go through the hardware setup and see what it's doing. And I'm going to do some of that really bad shonky, I know. I mean, I should be able to just switch different cameras, but I've just got the iPhone camera and it's on autofocus, so every time I gesture with my hands, the camera focus will go weird. So I'm very sorry about that. So bear with me as we go through. So let's go backwards and start with the Rodecaster video. As an audio visualist, this has been a revolutionary piece of gear for me, because not only can I obviously do the video side of things with it and have lots of different options with video routing, but being able to have the audio coming in. So this is the heart of it. I've got my left and rights coming out of my Ableton push, which is up the top. This is the bottom layer of a 3 keyboard stand, but I won't be taking the 3 keyboard stand to the gig. It's just going to be taking this, taking the modular and taking the push and a laptop, and that's it for the setup. But this has been great, being able to have the audio ins, and you know, mixing everything into this and then combining it with the video, having USB-C SSD hard drive connected to it, and just being able to hit the record button, record audio and video, but beyond that actually recording everything into separate channels, so it can have different video channels. It's all just happening at once. So it's very, very cool. I'll get to where this kind of sits in the chain in a second. But this is doing a few different things, including sending the audio signal to the laptop for any audio reactive effects that I've got going in Resolume on there. And then it's also bringing the laptop signal back in via HDMI. What you're watching right now is coming in through an HDMI lead that's coming out of a HDMI dongle on my iPhone 12. And then I've also got this as a HDMI output that's going to a TV that I've got right up the top here. So that gives me the big picture view of what's happening at any particular time, and can kind of switch between either what's happening on the laptop or the camera that's coming in directly, as to what you're seeing now. All right, let's go. Oh, there's one thing that I'm just going to move the camera really quickly to show you, and that is this here. So this is my old battered piece of crap iPad from a long time ago, that's got a cracked screen from when my young son was young, and kids like to crack things. And this is the very, very start of the chain. What I have been working on recently is this idea of, it's like remixing public domain videos, public domain films. And I have a particular penchant for late 60s, early 70s, maybe even early 80s, horror type films. Cheesier the better. They've got to be colour, and it's okay. So when you're thinking about, or when I'm thinking about, what this process is, I always want something, some kind of random element that brings in. Everything that I'm setting up is, I'm setting up a system for it to surprise me, for it to create something that I don't know about, or haven't seen before. Building this kind of playground world where things can change, bring meaning, that kind of idea of, strange synchronicities and serendipities of what works. Very, very early on in my career, I collaborated with an awesome fellow called Adam Bell, and we did a score for the 1922 F.W. Murnau Nosferatu. It's a thing, it's a thing. It was really good. And it was fun to be able to kind of score that, but that was very much, right, now this scene, and now we're doing this, and this particular sound for this particular action that's happening. There's still a good amount of improvisation that was happening there, but I'm very, very much in the improvisation space these days. And so being able to have something that's kind of improvising along with me, that I'm not actually improvising to, but that, these opportunities for, X and Y to kind of come together and create a Z somehow. And so this process has been really, really fun. Finding different films, just playing them full screen from archive.org. All of my work that I release, so everything that's on YouTube, except for a couple of kind of side projects, is released under Creative Commons. So it's this kind of share alike sort of idea, that because it's on archive.org, it's either in the public domain or it has a share alike or attribution license, and so licensing my stuff, you can go and rip off any of my videos and the sounds from it and make sample banks and do whatever you do. All you got to do is it's just shared under attribution. So, you know, feel free to share alike and just, you know, hit me back with attribution. The only thing that I do license my work under is non-commercial. So if you do want to use it for something commercial, then, you know, let's have a chat and you can license it and pay for it. So over here, coming straight out of the iPad, one of the things that I did try to do in this setup was use a HDMI converter out of the iPad and capture it in, but it wasn't giving me that sort of texture, because having the Sony ZV1 and the little video microscope there, it gives a particular texture because I'm shooting back off the screen. So the cracks in the screen, the pixels in the screen, that kind of Moyari texture that you get when you point a camera at a grid, all of that gets captured in its beauty by doing the ZV1 and the video microscope. And to be able to sort of play with that, so I have the ZV1 set up with manual focus, not like this stupid camera, but with this, and so it enables you to be able to kind of pull through the layers. If I kind of jump over to what's coming through the ZV1 right now, there's two challenges that I've got right at the moment. I've got a bit of lighting that's happening so that you can see this, and it's daytime, and I've got the overhead lights on, so the screen itself is picking up some reflections. It's picking up the camera, its own reflection, so when the screen goes dark you'll see that. But you can see it sort of, you know, picking up all of these, you know, lovely little kind of dust marks and the cracks in the screen, and that all becomes a really kind of cool part of it. Maybe just a bit too much dust, let's just brush it off a bit. But that is a part of that texture that's kind of coming into my work that I really, really like. You can see that big crack in the screen. See when it goes dark and you can see the reflection of it. I find that in a darker space, when I don't have a, you know, light directly above it, that sort of disappears. But at the same time, it does create an interesting layer. And if I jump into the manual focus here, you can see that I can kind of pull through different layers of the focal point to be able to create different textures. So if I go just to a much softer focus, it will kind of blur it and just sort of work a little bit more towards the, you know, kind of film grainy in a way. But then if I come back, you can then start to get the scan lines somewhere. Yeah, that's going blurrier. Let's go back the other way. The ZV1, it's a nice little camera, but there's a few things that I would kind of change. You can see it just starting to pull into gridland now. Yeah, there's a few things that I'd change or be looking for in another camera, which is more along the lines of more hands-on controls, but it's kind of, it's all right. It's all right. It's working for this. And so I've just got HDMI coming out of that directly, and we'll talk about where it's all of that HDMI is going in a second. And then I've got the video microscope, and there's a couple of challenges with the video microscope. One is because it's so close into the screen, and this is the video microscope output that you're seeing right now with a bit of saturation coming through from Resolume. So the same thing can be done, but you're grabbing a very abstracted piece of the screen, and if there's a movie that I'm using that's got a lot of black in it, I'm just gonna end up with a lot of black. So you can see it jumping to there as it goes. And if this is a long scene, so this is actually like someone's hair, I'll bring the other camera back in. You can see that working. But the thing that I do like about it is it's giving another layer of texture, and I can, again, with using the focus on the video microscope, being able to pull through the focus and pull through those texture layers to be able to choose that is a lot of fun. But the other component is, because there's these two things on the same screen, they have a relationship. So when the scene changes, or it cuts to a different scene, you can see that the video microscope and the larger sort of pull back elements of the ZV1, they're interrelated, they're interconnected somehow, and that's really sort of fun. So it's not like it's a completely separate visual source that's coming in, but there's somehow, well, they are connected because it's a smaller section of the larger overall image. So things like car chases and other bits and pieces that, you know, they have this really nice sort of interlink, and you can see them sort of coming backwards and forwards now. So yeah, so that's those two that's happening. And let's talk about now where they're going and how they're running through. I've spent a bit of time labeling everything, so I know where things are going, so I should be able to kind of mix it back pretty easily. But basically the video microscope and the ZV1, and then also the V1-HD from Roland, are all going into these super cheap but super awesome HDMI to USB converters. They're like 30 bucks on eBay and are just the best thing ever. And the best thing ever because two reasons. One is it does what it says on the box. HDMI goes in, it comes out as USB, and then it just connects over to the laptop, pops up as a USB 3 input, and happy days, you're away. So in terms of using the laptop as a mixer, that's exactly what's happening. I've just realized that I'm pointing at things and you can't see them. Here we go. Let's come back over to here and just move this out a bit. This is what I'm talking about. You know, 30 bucks on eBay. So beyond it just doing what it's supposed to do in terms of the conversion, going into a little dongle, I've got 3 of them here. It's going into a dongle, USB-C over to the laptop. The other awesome thing is they work as a splitter because it's got a pass-through for the HDMI. So with the HDMI having a pass-through, this opens up all of these kind of fun opportunities for video feedback and splitting signals off into other places. So not only do I have the video microscope, well, the video microscope's actually the only one that I'm not splitting off anywhere, and I've got that already sort of set up and it's sitting here. I've got a spare little dongle sitting there in case I want to do some on-the-fly rerouting at some point. But the V1-HD and the Sony ZV1 are both going off into different mix points. So where are they going? So ZV1 is coming into one of the inputs here on the V1-HD, and the V1-HD is then also going back into the Entropy & Sons Recursion Studio. So again, I've got a little and it came in the box. These guys are just so awesome. They are really Gene from Entropy and Sons, and kind of what he's building and what the vision is for this box is absolutely amazing. It's so deep. If you want to go deep, I'll move the camera and I'll show you in a second the things and how I'm using it. But it's very, very cool. So I've got the VH1D in kind of like a feedback loop from the video synth, which is coming into here, and the ZV1 that's coming into here, and then being able to mix and use the V1-HD as a mixer. And I've got the V1-HD just being previewed on this little monitor here, so I can always see what it's doing. It's not giving me my overall, but this is the most finickiest bit, which is the feedback loop from the V1-HD coming back into here, plus the ZV1, and just getting that right and mixing those two between the raw signal and the feedback loop, and using a key on here to be able to mix the two. So you can see I can mix between the ZV1 input, the Recursion Studio, and then I can also kind of change the amount of mix that's happening. And so what you're seeing now in terms of it freaking out, this is the feedback loop that's happening. And the challenge here is to stop it from going to white. So you can see that it's like feedback, feedback, and goes and blasts out to white. And so having the key on here enables me to mix the ZV1 input through, but also reduces the chances of it feeding back to going to just completely white. And if it does go to white in that feedback loop, then it will, because I've got the white color key happening as the effects, you'll always kind of see what's happening in behind it. So it doesn't matter how feedbacky it gets. Feedback, feedback, feedback. It'll always should just show through and won't go to white. And that's a bit of a trick here as well, in terms of being able to mix between those two sources, as to where I get all the benefits of the feedback, but none of the kind of crazy blowout screen that's happening. The other thing that's going on with the Recursion Studio is I've got from the headphone, this again one of the amazing kind of cool things with the Rodecaster video, it's got two headphones out. So from the second headphone out, I've got just a mini jack running into here for audio reactive elements of the Recursion Studio. Cool, so 3 capture cards, V1-HD, ZV1 and video microscope. This is the feedback loop between the Recursion Studio and the Z1, and then that's been captured in as a separate channel. And then I've got the, I don't know who we is, I've got very, very, very cheap Korg Nanocontrol that's USB to the laptop, that allows me to be able to mix through different sources. And we'll just talk about that in a second when we jump over to Resolume. But the basic idea is let's just have a quick look. So we'll just swap over to the computer. So one is ZV1. I've got a global saturation and contrast that lets me kind of move through the space where I love the psychedelic high contrast colors. So that's layer 1. Layer 2 is the video microscope. Layer 3 enables me to mix in the live camera. So you're not obviously going to see anything on layer 3 at this point, but yeah, oh yeah, there you go. You can see layer 3. So that you can see the saturation and hue going on. So that's coming via USB-C from the Rodecaster video. So the Rodecaster video, when you connect it via USB-C to the laptop, just sends that video signal, and it also sends stereo audio, and I can use that stereo audio for audio reactive effects happening inside Resolume. Layer 5 is the V1-HD. So that's happening with the Recursion Studio and its own video input that's happening from the ZV1. And again, with the ability to sort of, you know, control that video feedback and all the kind of colors and cool things, and then, you know, also being able to sort of mix that in with the ZV1 and also the video microscope is a lot of fun. The last track is, the last channel that I've got going on here is number 4, and what I've got is I've got a series of masks, audio reactive, black and white masks that are happening on all the layers underneath. So if I've got layer 5 up here running, and I've got layer 1 running underneath, right, layer 1, so ZV1, and let's bring the microscope up, so those two, and then I've got that running over the top. If I trigger anything on layer 4, this gives me a whole bunch of kind of audio reactive elements, and if I bring some so it gives that kind of texture because it's working as a mask for those bottom layers, and gives a bit of space across all of those different different channels. Cool. So that's everything that's going on down here. Let's just jump over and have a look at Resolume, and we're almost kind of done. And so yeah, like Resolume's really, really simple. It's just working as like a glorified video mixer. So this is ZV1, video microscope, Rodecaster video, all coming in as USB-C captures. So 1, 2 and 3 in the VH1 is the Roland video mixer. So 1, 2 and 3, these are all those kind of cheap capture cards, and then this is the Rodecaster video coming in. Again, being able to mix all of these layers in together. So video microscope, you can see that's just the ZV1 and the video microscope. Bring that in. With the video microscope, I've got just a simple mirror that's going on. I can also, when this is going up in terms of another effect, I've got a mirror that can work over the top of everything. I can bring in and change those different, and that's just kind of like building these things is like a thing I do, and I just sit on the couch and I'm working through and work through. So this is just like a whole collection of different sort of self-generative, audio reactive animations or clips that are being built. Let's see what they do with a kick. yeah, so that's kind of it. Just jump into here for a second. I'm not sure if you can see this, but just with audio, in terms of audio input, is a Rodecaster video stereo, and then it's a stereo mix left and right that comes in as my external audio FFT, and so that's controlling a whole range of different things that kind of happen. And I do have a bunch of effects that I can kind of mix through and put on top of it if I want, just to kind of, you know, add a bit of extra fun and gains to everything. But yeah. And this is like a bit of a decision in terms of being able to use this output as, wait, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that, yes, I could have filled this with clips, but there's something really nice about the serendipity, randomness of using those two camera sources from a film to be able to bring in, and it's bringing extra layers of meaning that I didn't intend, you know, like this sort of stuff it's like my own oracle, you know, what's it trying to tell me, and that becomes kind of that personal sort of dialogue that happens between me and the work. And that's fun, and it makes it really interesting and unknown, and, you know, what's it going to be? I don't know. So it puts me within an aesthetic ballpark, but the ability to be able to still be surprised, and I mean, that's just really beautiful and looks kind of cool. Thanks very much for watching. I hope that 34 minutes of your life, there was something in here that that sort of assisted you. Let's jump back over to the overview. I can wave at you, disembodied hand. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Again, this is an always evolving kind of setup, but in terms of being able to make a sort of self-contained setup that I can pull out, I've got 4 cables to plug in, plus power. It feels like it's gonna work. And here's the gig flyer again. If you're in Sydney and you want to come and see this happening. And then you can also, if you haven't watched it all yet, you can watch the audio breakdown using Modular Synth and Ableton Push 3 Standalone. Thanks very much. I'm going to wave again, say goodbye.